Welcome to the How to Heal podcast, the show where we explore real life stories and practical tools to thrive. I'm your host, Lindsay Tremarky Richter, and through over a 15-year journey of all things healing, I'm here to hook it up. If you're feeling overwhelmed, looking for a deeper connection, or straight up in a psycho-spiritual crisis, I got you covered. Let's unearth your unique elixir to purpose, peace, and progress. Here we go. What's up, party people? I want to start today's episode off with this. You always have to check your intentions. You know deep down if your head and heart are in the right place, or if you're doing things because you're trying to get out of trouble, you're being selfish, you're being egotistical. You really have to check yourself, because that's just going to bite you in the ass. Like, that's just for shit sure. So if that resonates with you, you better get your shit together. Get your shit together. I would just say the best way to address conflicting actions and feelings is to journal, is to make a list, make a good, bad list, and write all the cons, write all the negatives, and just see it for what it is. We really do not want to stick our heads in the sands, which is now what we are perpetually doing in a real way that we don't even understand how bad it is. So that's the purpose of what I teach here, is like, how do you really get honest with yourself? How do you address the fear that you don't even know is there? And today is going to be another integration episode. We're talking about integrating the mental and emotional pillars. When we think about the mental stuff, which I talked about last episode, which is basically mindset and what your inner dialogue is. So if you're having conversations with yourself that are mean or that are negative or condescending or disconcerting or just straight up unproductive, that is an opportunity to address your mental health, your mental mindset. I mentioned in last episode, it's not really the mental health, it's the emotional health. And it's the mental response to the emotional stuff that's coming up that we don't know how to deal with, that we don't know how to feel. So today, this week's episode, we are going to talk about how to integrate how to respond mentally to emotions that are coming up that are super deep, that maybe you don't even realize you're having a negative mental response to, that are causing a negative mindset. I always talk about Gabby Bernstein. I love Gabby Bernstein. Just because she started this conversation for me and for us. I mean, it was coming out anyway, but she mentions in her book, Happy Days, about talking really nasty to herself and being like, I don't remember what she said, but what I say and what I have said, which it got a lot quieter after I practiced some of the stuff I'm going to teach you in this episode. But I would say, I fucking hate myself. I fucking hate myself. And that comes out as a response to a thought that makes me feel insecure, a thought that I feel inadequate, a situation that I feel inadequate about, a thought that I feel embarrassed about, a thought that I feel like I'm falling short on. And I think that sometimes so much information coming at us so quickly, obviously we don't process all of our thoughts. So when you have a negative inner dialogue come up, like, I fucking hate myself, you probably didn't clock the thought that came through at the time. So the way to do that, the way to clock those thoughts, is number one, meditation, and learning how to slow down, and learning how to breathe into your body, and learning when you're getting away from your body, really slowing down. And the way to do that is the breath. So we always want to come back to the breath. I talk about this in the last few episodes. It's like, Catch your breath. When your breath gets taken away, catch it and just slow it down. Slow it down. It's like catching the ball, bringing it into your hands, winding up and releasing. Like that whole process is requires a connected breath of consciousness. So we really want to remain conscious in our bodies, especially when we start getting anxiety or out of control. How do we identify the initial part, the initial steps of where we're getting out of control? And for me, it's become so easy because I stopped drinking and smoking. So I'm not using any substance. I'll tell you, I do drink coffee and I can feel when I'm getting out of balance, but because I don't have to deal with like the massive hangovers or like the ups and downs of like getting high, like I don't feel so far from my body. Also, a lot of negative self-talk stems from when you're growing up as a kid and the way your parents, teachers, guardians, whoever spoke to you. So you have to understand, just objectively speaking, everyone around us, especially our parents, they were raised with fear. The majority of the population has instilled fear in our nervous system, in our bones, in our psyches, in generations and generations and past lives. So when we're being parented by someone who is literally so fearful themselves and maybe doesn't realize it, that's when we hear in our head those silent whispers, those soft whispers, the negative soft whispers coming through. And we just have to be understanding that the conditioning of our parents and the people around us has caused most of us to not feel safe. So, what happens when we don't feel safe? We go into fight or flight. And what happens when we're in fight or flight? When we're in a situation that doesn't require fight or flight, we start to be mean to ourselves because there's nothing else to do. There's nowhere else to go other than pick on ourselves. Again, that is where we step into the integration piece. That's why physical movement is so important when we're going through this negative self-talk, because we're able to actually move through that trauma. Again, trauma is stored in the body when an act is occurred against you and you're physically unable to move. So moving through those traumas physically is what is going to help you process, move on, and really open up a whole new world to possibility for your mind and your heart. So I've been using IFS. This is really the tool. The tool is IFS, it's internal family systems, basically family of parts that have been created in our psyche to either protect ideas that we were too young to understand were not correct. Let's just talk about those for this. I'm not an IFS practitioner. If you Google IFS, you can find IFS certified level 1, I think it's a 3 level practitioners, and they can help you through this. It's basically a spiritual form of therapy, is what it is. So when I was having an IFS session last week, and I said, what is the difference between an unprocessed emotion and your intuition? Because what has happened for me is that I'll think something is my intuition, but essentially it's like an unprocessed emotion that is scared. And that's where IFS comes in to really identify and hear these parts of us that have been created to protect ideas that we weren't able to address growing up. The interesting thing about IFS actually is that I have really sophisticated, responsible practical parts because you continue to create parts as you become an adult. So I have all of these parts that are really stable and practical and trustworthy. So now that I've created a lot of good habits, I can recognize, like, I can see everybody in the room and be like, okay, like, let's all witness this part. Let's all witness. Let me just talk really specifically about a part for me. So I have this like a nitpicker part. And this nitpicker part is the part that always wants to heal something, always wants to heal more, always wants to heal more. And this is definitely not a younger part. This is an older part. But this part was necessary to come in to pick up all of the shit that needed to be picked up for me. I needed a lot of work. So now, even though it's not like a really young part, I would say the part is probably like a 20 something. But that nitpicker part, it's sort of like it can chill now. And I say, hey, I recognize you. I wouldn't have been able to get as far as I have come without you. But I'm going to ask you if it's okay now, if we can just chill. And I listen to how I feel in my body. And then the other parts that come up around it, like my overwhelmed part, or, um, I don't want to go too deep into this, but just IFS is such a powerful tool. If you have the ability to look into hiring a practitioner, it's a fabulous form of therapy that addresses the negative self talk. I lived with negative self talk for a very long time. It wasn't until I was able to identify why I was having the negative self talk, really, not just be like, I hate myself. No, I love myself. That didn't work for me. Just like negating the statement never worked for me. I needed to understand why that was coming up. And IFS was super helpful. If you don't have the money right now, set yourself up for future sessions. And in the meantime, get yourself the book, No Bad Parts. It comes in audio. It is by the guy who created IFS. I think the last name is Schwartz. But get it in your head that this is a tool that you can use, that when you're ready to, you can use it. Okay. So finally, we're coming into the integration. I feel like we've been talking about the physical and the mental portion still, which is such a huge portion of how to address the negative self talk, right? The trauma through the physical. But when we talk about IFS, we're finally able to sit with the emotions of where negative mental chatter is coming. So when we hear those whispers, we really want to pay attention. We want to pay attention to the whispers because they're more subconscious. And again, this is where the mindset meets the emotional because you have to be able to feel the emotion in order to correct the mindset. So when we lovingly feel the emotion of sadness or disappointment or hatred or the letdown, and we mentally come into a gentle space and say, whatever it is, whatever you need to feel, whatever you need to heal, whatever you need to fix, I'm here. We need to go through this. You need to be witnessed. You have to be able to sit with the emotion and talk yourself through sitting with the emotion. It's okay to sit with the emotion. It's necessary. You just have to be present with it and then put it into a mindset. Like, I feel so sad right now. I feel so depressed right now. I feel so alone. I feel like such a failure. I feel like I messed up so bad. I'm not coming back from this. This is not going to be fixed, but I'm getting better at loving myself. But I know that I'm taking the actions to care for myself, but I know I'm feeling into a better life for myself. I know I'm doing the things that I need to do to help myself. I'm proud of where I am. I'm proud of how far I've come. So these are the kinds of affirmations that you can use, but I really don't want to just give you like an affirmation to say, unless that resonates with you. I really would love for you to feel into a sad, angry, disappointed, let down, whatever it is, part of yourself and tell yourself exactly what you need to hear because only you know like exactly what you need to hear in that moment. So again, this is where the IFS is really powerful. the parts of yourself that stepped in to protect this like outdated thinking, they stay with us because they served a purpose. And we really have to accept them and love them for the work that they've done and understand that there still is a place. They're not going away. So, how are we going to work with them going forward? And because even if they're showing up as a detriment to ourselves now, instead of pushing them away, I feel like shadow work is has been a very trendy spiritual practice where it's like we're not just looking at the shadow, we're really integrating the shadow. The shadow is not some like separate part of ourselves. The shadow, was a part that helped us survive. So, we can easily just look at the negative self-talk, where that's coming from, identify with it, and then acknowledge that it has to work with other parts that are more helpful. Next week, we're going to talk about integrating some more pillars. I just want to finish this by talking about the emotional piece a little more. We focus on a lot of mental stuff, but I want to focus on some emotional stuff. So there are times when we're feeling pent up, right? There are times when we're feeling pent up, where we're feeling frustrated, we're feeling angry. And so many times that is a signal that we need to feel an emotion. We need to release an emotion. We need to cry. We need to be upset. We need to mourn. And that does not happen on our time. That happens on our body's time. So don't beat yourself up. Know that you're doing the best that you can do as long as you are paying attention to how you're feeling in the moment. We have the opportunity to address the emotions, not all at once, in the perfect amount of time that makes sense for you. So kumbaya, motherfuckers. JK. Also, listen, if you're listening to me and you have a spiritual practice, I just want to say thank you for being here. And also, I started my podcast with the intention of not cursing. That has obviously changed. I just want to say this. I'm really here to help you guys get to the next level. I am not a guru. You know what I mean? I am literally here as a friend, as a human who has been through hell and back, and who has a really practical framework to get you to where you want to be. So I'm not here to like be super preachy and super hoity-toity and super holier than thou. I recognize that using curse words is shocking to the system and is not so spiritual. However, right now, the way I'm conveying messages, it is most authentic for me to really speak in street. And I hope that that's going to help everyone listening. And I hope that it helps you connect to my authenticity so that you can shine bright in yours. Have an awesome week, guys. I love you.